about McDonald, though. McDonald is actually married to a woman, and they have 3 kids together. So he's actually in the closet, and he's hiding his real sexuality from his wife. And one day, McDonald, he's on the phone with Glenn, and they're chatting. And McDonald's wife, she overhears him planning a romantic weekend getaway with this guy that she doesn't know. And so she gets pissed, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm gay." I actually don't know what he really said to her, but I do know that she gets extremely pissed off at him, and she leaves him. And so now McDonald, he's free to go live the lifestyle that he actually wants to live. And so he moves out of their home, and he moves all the way to Wales to go live with Glenn, the con artist. And, things are going pretty well for them for a while. And Glenn is somehow spending all sorts of money on McDonald. No idea how he got that money. He probably conned someone. But that doesn't last long, because pretty quickly, Glenn runs out of money. And McDonald ends up being the one paying for everything and spending all his money on Glenn. And I guess behind his back, Glenn ends up figuring out a way to scam McDonald out of a bunch of his money. Because one day, Glenn is out trying to buy some stuff, and boom, his card is suddenly declined. And so he checks, and he finds that his account has been completely emptied. And he's like, "What the fuck?" And of course, he suspects Glenn, because, that's the only person it could have been. Meanwhile, Glenn, he probably knows that McDonald suspects that he stole from him. Because here is where shit gets really dark. One day, Glenn gets online and he starts looking for ways to unalive someone. And eventually, he comes up with a plan to unalive McDonald. First, he gets him to come along with him on a little road trip to visit some relatives. Then he pretends to get them lost so that they're in the middle of nowhere and they have to stay at this cheap hotel. And while they're staying at this hotel, Glenn, he grabs a fire extinguisher that's there in the room, and suddenly, pow, he hits McDonald with it, and he beats him over and over again until he's unalived. Then he leaves the hotel for a short while, and he comes back, and he goes to the room, and he pretends that he just found McDonald there, and he starts acting all shocked. And he runs to the hotel lobby, and he tells them to call the police because his boyfriend was just attacked. And police come out, and I guess they immediately don't believe his story because, bam, they arrest him. And I don't have a mugshot, but I do have this picture of him in real life. And so ultimately, Glenn goes to trial, and he's found guilty, and he gets sentenced to life in prison. And a huge shout out to Leonardo.ai for sponsoring this video. If you want to make really cool art for your videos or just for your life, like this or like this, then sign up for Leonardo.ai. This guy pretends to be a quadriplegic to get out of going to prison. Now, the guy's name is Alan, and Alan's around 42 years old, living in Wales, and bro is just a total con man, and he really wants to make money by being as shady as possible. And one day, in 2008, he pulls off one of the sleaziest cons I've ever heard of. See, his neighbor is this guy, Ivor. And Ivor is 80, and he has dementia, unfortunately, and he needs as much help as he can get. And I guess Alan learns about this, and he's like, "Oh, I'll just scam this guy. He won't remember." And so Alan starts getting close to Ivor, helping him with things. And over time, he low-key starts withdrawing money from Ivor's bank account and putting it into his, also using Ivor's checks to pay himself large amounts of money. And doing this, he's clearing tens of thousands of pounds out of Ivor's account at a time. And if that isn't scummy enough, he goes so far as to forge Ivor's will to make himself the beneficiary. And so, over time, he funnels over 40,000 pounds out of Ivor's account, or about 60,000 US dollars. And of course, poor Ivor has dementia, so he has no idea any of this is going on. And even if he did and he told someone, they probably wouldn't believe him anyway. Meanwhile, Alan's spending all this new money on himself. He's like going on vacations and shopping sprees. Here's the thing though. Ivor also has some social workers that help him out sometimes. And one day, they're looking at his accounts or whatever, and they're like, hold up a second here. And they notice that a bunch of his funds from his life savings are missing. So someone must be stealing it. And so they call up the local police, and they report it. And police start investigating. And it doesn't take long before they start to zero in on the turd who recently worked his way into Ivor's life. Good old Alan. And Alan becomes a prime suspect. And eventually, in 2011, they have enough evidence, and boom, they arrest him. And so they bring him in, and they start questioning him about all this missing money. And Alan, he's a con man. He's a legendary bullshitter. He immediately tells them some made-up story about how he has an estranged son, and it must have been his estranged son who broke into Ivor's house and stole the money from him. Here's the thing, though. Alan actually does have a son. So police think he's talking about him, and they go and they arrest his poor son. And the son's like, what do you do? I didn't do anything. What's wrong with you? And they investigate him, and they find that his son didn't actually do anything wrong, and so they drop the charges against him. Which means they now know that Alan was lying. And this makes him look even more guilty, and he knows he's fucked. And so he starts to panic, until he comes up with a crazy idea. He'll just pretend he's paralyzed from the neck down. There's no way they're gonna prosecute a quadriplegic. And so he has a bail hearing coming up. And Alan decides to show up to this bail hearing in a wheelchair and wearing like a neck brace, pretending that he can't move his body. And there, he tells the court that he was in a crazy accident while he was closing his garage door and he fell down and broke his neck, and now he's paralyzed from the neck down, and that sometimes he has seizures and sometimes he falls into a coma. And because of all that they should grant him bail. And even though he's absolutely full of shit, like he's perfectly fine, I guess the court believes him and they grant him bail, and now he's out free. However, it's not over for him yet, because he still has his main trial coming up. And if he gets prosecuted there, he'll go to prison for years. And so Alan just keeps the lie going. He pretends to be paralyzed. And police are still investigating him for stealing from Ivor. And they'll show up to his house to try and talk to him, but he'll pretend that he can't talk to them because he's in a coma. And his wife is there, and she's in on this whole scheme too. Her name is Helen. And so Helen will tell the police, he can't talk to you because of his garage door accident. He's in a coma. And I guess the police are just like, all right. And of course, this also becomes Alan's excuse to not have to go to court. And so he misses court date after court date after court date. Like I can't make it, I'm in a coma. And 2 years go by, and Alan and Helen are still pulling this scheme. And they keep pushing his court date back again and again and again, because he knows he's going to get prosecuted and he'll go to prison. Now at this point, they're also doing other things to try and further legitimize their bullshit story. Like Alan will check himself into the local hospital, pretending to be a quadriplegic who's all messed up from this alleged garage door accident, and he's pretending to be paralyzed from the neck down to the hospital staff. And of course, the doctors there examine him and they never find anything wrong with him, so I assume they know that he's full of shit and faking it, but these hospital visits actually help him delay his trial even further. Helen even gets the attention of a local newspaper, and she brings a journalist to their house, I guess to try and get press coverage to help legitimize their case. And the journalist gets photos of Alan hooked up to a bunch of machines, pretending to be in a coma. Here's a picture of him, here's another picture of him, here's one of him and Helen, here's another one of him and Helen. So bro is laying it on real thick. But as ridiculous as this is, it's working. He's still not in prison because they can't convict him because they can't have his trial because he's always pretending to be paralyzed or in a coma. Until... Now police, they're not stupid. They know something's up with Alan. He's a con man. He's totally not paralyzed. And so they start going to that local hospital and questioning the staff. And I don't know what kind of HIPAA-type laws they have in Wales, but the staff immediately rats him out. Apparently, they're telling police that they had seen him sitting up in bed, writing things down, even feeding himself. Things that are hard to do when you can't use your hands. Not only that, by this point, police are investigating him hard. And they're looking for any piece of footage they can find of him. Like any camera he's passed by, they go and get the footage. And they find footage of him doing all sorts of stuff. Like here he is on vacation with Helen. This looks like them on another vacation. Here he is shopping at Tesco. Here he is shopping at Tesco again. Here he is shopping at Tesco again. Here he is driving his car through a toll road. And notice how he's using his handicap badge to avoid paying the toll. Like he and Helen apparently take a trip to an art gallery. They also go to a wedding. They also take a whole ass trip to frickin' Legoland. And so police, they see all this and they're like, I knew it! This motherfucker ain't paralyzed! And so, armed with all this evidence, in 2014, prosecutors get the court to finally call Alan on his bullshit and they order him to show up for this hearing. And so he shows up to the courthouse, and Helen, wheels him over to the hearing.
Alan Knight arrived in a wheelchair at court today, maintaining his claim that he's unable to walk.
And they have this whole trial, and prosecutors share all these pictures and videos of him walking and driving and acting totally not paralyzed. And so, boom, Alan finally gets convicted. This is his mugshot.
British prosecutors say Alan Knight stole more than $64,000 from a bank account of an elderly neighbor who suffered from Alzheimer's.
And Helen actually gets convicted too because, she played a part in this scam as well. I actually don't have a mugshot for her, but here's a picture of her looking sad. And ultimately, Alan gets sentenced to about 5.5 years in prison, while Helen gets 10 months in prison. Hey, just reminding you that my entire catalog of true crime videos is now on Spotify. So if you want to listen to me over there, it's called the Ray William Johnson True Story Podcast. Disclaimer.
Oh, what is this? I think I found love within, deep inside your heart and soul. And what is this? I think I found love within, deep inside your heart and soul. Now tell me, do you want me, baby? And tell me, do I drive you crazy? And tell me, do I make you go, yeah. And tell me, do you want me, baby? And tell me, do I drive you crazy? And tell me, do I make you go,
That's beautiful. Sorry for the trauma, Mango. You'll be fine.
What is this? Look at all my precious babies. Oh my god.
Good evening, Lotties, Lasses, and Lazos. Welcome to the click to your private little concert that I'm having for you just because you smell so nice. Wow, with tickets to concerts soaring the way they are, can you imagine getting in just because you smell nice? The artist just comes up to you like, oh, yeah, this front seat is all for you. Wouldn't that just be absolutely wholesome? Anyway, speaking of very not wholesome things, today we're going to do something beautiful that I haven't done in a little while. We're going to look into r/facepalm because the world is becoming more insane, it seems, and I think laughing about it keeps us all just a little bit more sane. And to add to our sanity just a little bit,
These little babies are coming out on the 1st of October. Oh my god.
and they're going to be available all through spooky months, so make sure to check them out and make sure your spooky month is as awesome as it could be with these little babies.
Wee.
Enjoy the video. Do you enjoy watching YouTube? Wow, me too. We have so much in common. Sometimes there are ads on YouTube. Check this one out. Ooh, Z-Girls for free. Oh, wow. This sussy aged looking anime female wants to FaceTime you pictures.
Hey, before dating girls, remember to improve your affection level.
Oh, that is just that is just applicable to real life, isn't it? Before speaking to a female creature, make sure to increase your levels of Riz. Man, I cannot imagine. I have videos getting demonetized, like unironically, when this is the ads that are actually showing on YouTube. Oh, look at these sensitive advertisers. Get out of here. Come on.
Alright, little Timmy, we're going to the bathroom. We have, water drop gender and upside down water drop gender.
What? Oh, wait, no, wait, I get it. So, wait a second. So the right one is like more plump around what would be the hips, right? And the 3 lines on the bottom also makes kind of a W for whammon. And then the one on the top side is like, you know, a V shape, like a masculine shoulder man. And the lines are upside down, which would mean M, like Neo. Wow, that is amazing. Cool. Wow. The 2 genders. Water drop flying in different directions. So little Timmy, which gender are you? Water drop or upside down water drop? The only 2 genders there are, baby.
Why do bathrooms have to be so hard, man?
How it started. Eating disorder helpline fires staff. Transitions to chatbot after unionization. Okay, this cannot go well. I've seen the kind of stuff that comes out of chatbots and stuff in those AI girlfriends. How it's going. Eating disorder helpline disables chatbot for harmful responses after firing human staff. Every single thing Tessa suggested were things that led to the development of my eating disorder. Oh my god. It's like those like AI girlfriend chatbots when people were like, I'm feeling lonely and depressed, and the bot is like, have you tried jumping off a bridge? Bruh, whoever made the decision to like replace actual staff at a helpline with a bot at this current stage is absolutely insane. I can't have a productive conversation with people who think news, science, and data are credible. But wait, what is credible then? What is credible? Like, I can agree that certain news sources are a bit whack and so on and so forth, like, sure, but what is left? What else do you find credible? Weird creators on Twitter? No, thank you. Right-wing anti-LGBTQ plus education activist exposed as former gay adult film actor. Report. Corey has gone dark on social media. That is absolutely wild. Oh my god, like I've heard about people in the online sphere doing like 90-degree turns when it comes to like their like career choices or grifts or whatever you want to call it, but this damn, this is a new one. This news article reminds me of that story that broke a little while ago that one of the most popular adult film categories in some of the most transphobic states in the US are like trans-related topics on these adult sites, which is wild, which doesn't actually mean that people are accepting of anything. They're just like, they hate it publicly and then they like fetishize it in private, which I guess isn't great, but it's kind of ironic, isn't it, right? It's a very weird thing. Grace Baptist Church, God, Guns, and Guts. This just sounds like a subtitle for like a Doom game. Isn't this the title? No, it's like Rust, Dust, and Guts, isn't it? Isn't that like a Mick Gordon song? Oh, Baptist Church. At least you're playing Doom nowadays. That's pretty hardcore. Blorp went to a Pennsylvania supermarket to rant about egg prices, claiming eggs were $4 a dozen. You might note behind him the eggs are $2 a dozen. After he posted a video of his mindless rant, everybody mocked him, saying, "Hey, you might want to remove the price tags next time you lie on camera. Also, you're holding a pack of 24 eggs. I know math isn't your strong suit, but that's 2 dozen. I also love how this article is seemingly quoting like one really sassy tweet word for word. That is beautiful. This also gives me such a huge flashback. You remember a few years ago when the whole talking point was like, oh my god, the gays are coming for Christmas, and they like zoomed in on that one little gay Santa that was like in a corner of an aisle in a grocery store. But then if you just zoomed out a little bit, you realize that the rest of the shelves were just covered with like normal Christmas decorations. You know, it's like that. If you're gonna lie, you can at least be a little bit smarter about it. Please, man. This is like painful to watch. The lady in Texas charged with murder for an abortion actually had a stillbirth. Wasn't even an abortion. The DA is now looking to dismiss the case. Texas arrested this woman, charged her with murder, and sent her to jail after she had a stillbirth. Oh, yes, you do that American after stillbirth care. Wow. Now you go to jail. Isn't that amazing? This potentially really traumatizing experience in your life. Now you're also a criminal. Yeah, these laws really are a slippery slope, aren't they? My God. Trump's former director of WH personnel went to TikTok to mock Harris' debate answers on abortion and challenged a single woman to come forward with a story similar to the one she described. It blew up in his face as nearly 10,000 did. I'm gonna be honest here. Okay, fam, like going to TikTok to be sassy sounds kind of crass to begin with about these sort of things, but when an anecdote is this common, it's not really anecdotal evidence anymore, okay? At some point it passes that threshold of between like anecdote and like very statistically significant occurrence, okay? Women weren't allowed to open a bank account in the USA till 1974? Marriages used to last. Nah, brah, your grandma was chained by the ankle. Yeah, this is the kind of thing with statistics, right? Because this is something I see quoted so much.
Oh, kids these days, they don't know how to stay in marriages. Back in my day, people stayed married until they died.
Yeah, Grandpa Steve, it's because they had literally no options. If you left your husband, your bank account went kaput. So maybe it's actually a good thing. And this kind of stuff goes for a lot of statistics, which is very important to keep an eye out for. Manipulating statistics to make them show what you want them to show is super duper easy. And this goes for cases like this too. Everything from life expectancy going up to the fact that people are actually more independent, which makes them free to make more choices than in the past, and so on and so forth. Social standards, economic standards, and what have you. One of my favorite arguments, which is a very silly one, but it's one of my funny favorite ones to show people how easy it is to manipulate statistics. It's to say something like, oh my god, if you look at Venus, there have been 0 recorded deaths on Venus. It's the safest planet in the solar system. Everyone on Earth should move there because the Earth's deaths toll is like in the billions. My god. But of course, it's a very skewed statistic because no one lives on Venus to begin with. And it's like boiling hot and rains acid and that kind of stuff. It's not particularly hospitable. So very narrow statistics can almost always be twisted into showing what you want them to show without further context, and that is something very important to keep in mind. Big thing. Your Netflix binge-watching makes climate change worse, say experts. Well, I mean, it is using electronics, so I suppose, making it worse goes for, anything, I suppose. The emissions generated by watching 30 minutes of Netflix is the same as driving almost 4 miles. I seriously doubt that. I seriously doubt that. Are you running your TV on, a diesel engine? Cool! To guilt-trip ordinary people for every tiny thing that might spark joy, while oil execs dip their hands in big barrels of dinosaur juice to lube up every time they want to have a wank. That picture is astounding. Usually on a little bit of a sussy desk, you can have some napkins and a little lotion thing or something. I just imagine a full-size oil barrel. This is gonna be a good Friday. Let's dig into this dinosaur lubed up story, shall we? Fact check. What is the carbon footprint of streaming videos on Netflix? Drawing on analysis at the International Energy Agency, IEA, and other credible sources, we exposed a flawed assumption in one wildly reported estimate of the emissions from watching 30 minutes of Netflix. These exaggerate the actual climate impact by up to 90 times. Yeah, that seems a bit more reasonable. Yeah. I think in instances like this, it's good to take a step back and just consider if something like this is a reasonable number, even if you have a source on it or not. If you combined, a server somewhere feeding the Netflix episode, a router for Wi-Fi, and a TV screen, compared to a 2-ton vehicle driving 4 miles, what do you think is going to pull the most energy? What do you think is going to produce the most pollution? Most likely the car, by quite a long shot, and it's not that strange when you think about it. So sometimes it's good to just take a step back and realize half the things people say on the internet nowadays is just like the onion, but they actually believe it. Oh my god, half the internet at this day and age is just growing and eating the onion themselves. It's very nice. It's like a closed little network of just both. Finland ended homelessness. They provide small apartments and counseling with no preconditions. 4 out of 5 make their way back into stable life, and guess what? It was cheaper than allowing homelessness to continue. Let that sink in. They ended homelessness. They saw a problem that needed solving and just poof, ended it. I think systems like this make perfect sense when you think about it, both on a societal level and an individual level. Just having relatively basic stuff to just make sure people don't get stuck on square 0, or square -1 rather in this case, is just so important. It's so important, and it blows my mind that people are actually against this kind of stuff, because everyone benefits from it. It's cheaper for everyone, even if you want to be super egocentric and be like, oh, I'm not going to pay for that. Well, you're going to pay for it one way or another, and this is actually the cheaper option. So, meh. I vowed to destroy the woke mind virus, Elon Musk, and I will. I love the fact about this picture that it's generated based on current day pictures, and you can see the line of tourists in the back in the blurred part of the picture. It just looks like a really cheesy cosplay. Man, that is amazing.